This is your settlement. 5 years of staying in my house, $20 is more than enough. This is for you to start something.
$20 after all these years, Henry. My God will judge you.
Henry laughed as he flung the $20 bill onto the floor in front of Nneka. "This is your settlement," he said, straightening his new leather jacket. 5 years of staying in my house, warming my bed, cooking my food, $20 is more than enough for you to start up something for yourself. He turned and walked out, his hand already reaching for Susan's waist, her perfume trailing behind them like a verdict. Nneka stood in the middle of the old house, the one with cracks running down its walls like old scars, the one that looked like it would collapse with the next hard rain. Henry didn't look back. He was convinced her life was over. He had no idea that life was about to teach him a lesson he would never forget. Stay with us till the very end, because this story is filled with unbelievable twists, heartbreaking moments, and a lesson you will never forget. If you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your family and friends. Now, let's begin. 5 years earlier, before the money, before Susan, before the $20 bill, there was a small room at the back of a rented compound where Henry and Nneka lived on hope and very little else. Henry was a bricklayer who took whatever contracts he could find, a wall here, a foundation there, while bigger companies with bigger machines swallowed up every serious job in town. Nneka sold pepper soup by the roadside from 5 in the morning until the sun went down. Her hands were rough, her feet ached. But every evening, she came home with something enough for Gary, enough for Henry's transport fare to chase another contract, enough to keep the lights on one more week. There was a night Henry sat outside their room with his head in his hands, a rejection letter from yet another company crumpled beside him. "I'm tired, Nneka," he said. "Maybe I wasn't built for more than this." She sat beside him on the bench, wiped her hands on her wrapper, and took his face in her palms. "Henry, look at me. Suffering is not your address. It is only where you are passing through. A man who refuses to fall is not a man who never stumbles. He is a man whose wife refuses to let him stay down." She said it so many times over the years that it became the thing that kept him standing. When contracts fell through, when people laughed at his worn sandals, when his own brothers stopped inviting him to family meetings because he had nothing to bring, Nneka was there, feeding him belief when there was nothing else to eat. 5 years like that, 5 years of her carrying 2 people on a market woman's income, never once asking for anything back, except that he keep trying. Then, one dry season, everything changed. An American investor came to town, backed by a firm building a new highway that would connect 3 states. Henry heard about the bidding process from a friend and, with nothing to lose, submitted a proposal for a small stretch of the project drainage work. Nothing glamorous. He got the contract. It should have been a modest win. Instead, due to a shortage of qualified local contractors and Henry's surprising reliability on the first phase, the American firm expanded his role first to a full section of road, then to overseeing multiple crews. Within 8 months, Henry had signed contracts worth more money than he had seen in his entire life. The transformation was immediate and total. His worn sandals became imported leather shoes. His single room became a duplex on the better side of town. His phone rang constantly. Men who once ignored him now called him Chief, now sent their sons to greet him. And, somewhere in the noise of his new life, Henry began to see Nneka differently. She still spoke the same way, plain, direct, full of village wisdom. She still wore her old wrapper around the house, still preferred cooking over hiring help, still called him my husband with the same warmth she always had. But now, next to his new friends' polished wives with their expensive wigs and English accents, Nneka looked to him like a mistake he hadn't yet corrected, a reminder of a life he wanted to forget. "You should smarten up small," he told her once, looking at her old wrapper with visible distaste. "People are coming to the house now." Nneka laughed, not understanding yet that it wasn't a joke. "Henry, this same wrapper carried us through 5 hungry years. It has no shame in it." He didn't laugh back. Susan had known Henry long before Nneka. They grew up on the same street, and there had been a time many years ago when Henry loved her the way young men love the girl who makes their chest hurt. He had proposed to her once, with nothing but hope in his pocket. Susan had laughed in his face. "Henry, I cannot manage poverty. Go and become something first." He never forgot those words. Not even after Nneka healed the wound they left. So when Susan resurfaced through a mutual friend at a business event, conveniently, right as news of Henry's contract spread through town, she found a very different man waiting. Expensive shoes. A driver. A story about a highway deal worth more money than she'd ever imagined attached to his name. Susan smiled the way she should have smiled 5 years earlier. "Henry, look at you. I always knew you had it in you." He believed her. He wanted to believe her. What followed was a season of quiet visits and expensive gifts, a Louis Vuitton bag here, designer shoes there, each one a small trophy. Henry presented like a man reclaiming something that was stolen from him long ago. Every naira he spent on Susan felt like proof that he had become someone, proof that the woman who once rejected him now wanted him desperately. He never once asked himself whether she wanted him, or simply what he had become. Susan never loved Henry. She loved what his failure had turned into. And she was patient, patient enough to let him fall in deeper, patient enough to wait for the moment when the biggest prize of all would be within reach. The final contract payment came through a lump sum in dollars, entrusted to Henry directly by the American investor to distribute among his subcontractors before the project's final phase. It was the largest amount of money Henry had ever personally held. That same week, drunk on his own success and Susan's affection, Henry came home and told Nneka the truth he had been circling for months. "Nneka, I think it's time we're honest with each other. You and we come from different worlds now. I've grown. You haven't grown with me. I need a woman who can stand beside me where I am now, not where I used to be." Nneka stood very still. "Henry, is there another woman?" He didn't deny it. He didn't need to. Susan was already standing outside the gate, waiting in the car he had bought her. Henry went into their room and returned holding a single $20 bill. He flung it onto the floor at Nneka's feet. "This is your settlement," he said, laughing. 5 years of staying in my house, warming my bed, cooking my food. $20 is more than enough for you to start up something for yourself." Nneka looked down at the money, then at the man she had carried through the worst years of his life. She said nothing. There was nothing left to say to a man who had already decided she was beneath speaking to. Henry walked out, Susan's hand slipping into his, and didn't look back. He left Nneka standing in the cracked, aging house, the one they had never bothered to fix because there was no money for it then. He was certain her story was over. 2 weeks later, Henry checked into a hotel with Susan to finalize what he believed was their new life together, a fresh apartment, a joint account, a future built on the money still sitting in his possession, meant for his subcontractors. Susan asked him, sweetly, to let her hold the money safely in the hotel safe while he went to handle a call downstairs. When Henry returned, the safe was open, the money was gone, so was Susan. He called her number until it stopped ringing altogether. He went to her apartment, the one he was paying for, and found it emptied, cleared out as though she had planned her exit before he had even finished planning his future. The subcontractors, unpaid, reported him. The American firm launched an inquiry into the missing funds. Within a month, Henry's contracts were suspended, his assets frozen pending investigation, and his name quietly removed from every project he had built his new life on. The friends who once called him Chief stopped calling at all. The duplex was repossessed. The car was sold to cover his debts. In the span of 6 weeks, Henry went from a man who threw $20 at his wife as an insult to a man who didn't have $20 to his name. Months later, hollow-eyed and wearing clothes that no longer fit his shrinking frame, Henry wandered through the market in search of work, any work, when he saw her. Nneka. Standing behind a modest food stall, stirring a pot of stew, her old wrapper replaced by a clean apron with her own small logo stitched onto it, Nneka's kitchen. Customers called her name with respect. She was laughing with a young girl she had apparently taken on to help her. Henry stood frozen, shame crawling up his spine. He approached slowly, and when their eyes met, he did something he never imagined himself capable of. He fell to his knees in front of her stall, in front of everyone. "Nneka, please. I was wrong. I lost everything. The money, Susan, all of it. Please, forgive me. Take me back." The market went quiet around them. Nneka set down her ladle and looked at the man kneeling before her, the same man who once said she deserved to be left in the village. "Henry, stand up." He didn't move. "Stand up," she said again, firmer this time. He obeyed. "You once told me I was beneath the life you built, that I deserved to be left behind. You flung $20 at me like I was something you were finally free of." Her voice didn't shake. "I want you to understand something, Henry. A woman does not need a man's money to survive. She needs her own strength. I don't have much. This stall, this pot, this apron, it isn't much, but it is mine. Nobody gave it to me. Nobody can take it from me. And I am happier standing behind this pot than I ever was standing beside you in that big house, waiting for you to remember I existed." She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a folded $20 bill, the same one, kept all these months. Not spent, not needed. "You said this was enough to start something for myself. You were right." She flung it back at his feet, the same way he once flung it at hers. "But I didn't need your $20 to start it. I started it with what you could never take from me myself." She turned back to her pot, back to her customers, back to her life. Henry remained standing in the market, the $20 bill lying in the dirt at his feet, exactly where he had once left her. They say money does not change a person, it only reveals who they always were. Henry didn't become cruel the day he got rich. The cruelty was always there, waiting for comfort to give it permission to speak. And Nneka didn't become strong the day he left her. She had always been strong. She simply hadn't yet been given the chance to stand on her own and show it. If there's one thing this story leaves behind, let it be this. Never mistake someone's patience for weakness. And never build your worth on a person who only remembers your value when they need something from you. If this story touched you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. See you in the next one.